Hi, Brian James, the Micro Four Thirds guy again with you, and today I'm going to be looking at my second-hand Lumix GX8 and Olympus 17mm f1.8 lens. Brian James, Micro Four Thirds guy with you again from Brian James Photography up here in sunny Cumbria, and it is sunny. It's been a beautiful day today. It's a bit noisy. We've got people chopping wood and doing all sorts of things in the background, which is really nice to hear because we've been locked down for so long. It's been a great little opportunity because I've had the ability to test the GX8, which I bought second hand last week, received it on Sunday, and also the Olympus 17mm f1.8 lens, which I'm really impressed with. It's a fabulous little lens. And I'm going to start with that first because it's one of those wonderful little lenses. It's solid, it's really chunky in the hand. Although it's a small lens, it's not silly light. It's got a certain amount of bulk to it, which, although not heavy, it really gives a little bit of confidence in its use. It's got a 46mm filter screen on the filter ring on the front, so you can put normal filters onto it, and 17mm is a really good focal length. It's equivalent to 34mm in full frame format or 35mm camera format, and what that means for me, it's a really useful size lens. The 35mm in the full frame format is a superb little lens. It gives a nice wide angle, slightly wider than your normal viewpoint that you would have as a human, and it can take you down to that point where you're almost distortion, but not quite. So if you wanted to distort it, you've got to push it into there, but the reality is it's a really good little lens, pin sharp, superb, and we'll come to some of the photographs in a few seconds. The other thing is the Lumix GX8, and there has been a problem with this, and this is part of the issues of buying things second hand. You can come across some problems, and this is why it's always worth buying from a reputable dealer if you do. I bought this from MPB. It's got a little bit of an issue because we realised that the front adjuster ring, the knurled part, is actually missing. The ring does work, but the knurled part is missing. That was bought as an excellent standard camera from them with all the packaging and things, and I've been onto them and they were really good. They got straight back to me, and I think we'll come to some deal with that. But the good thing with it is that you know with that they're not a backstreet trader, and you can just get straight on with it. Now, just to let you know, this channel isn't monetized. I don't make anything from this channel, and also the cameras and the dealers I talk about, whether it's MPB or Panasonic or Olympus, I buy my own cameras. I don't get sponsorship from anybody on that, although if you would like to leave me money for a cup of coffee, you'll find a link below. I'd really appreciate it if you can support the channel in some way, because I don't make money, it costs me money to do this. But the good thing is I really enjoy doing it. I enjoy passing my experience on to other people. Now, I've been taking photographs as a professional photographer for 35 years. My first professional shoot was in 1984. So I expect a lot from cameras. I have a good understanding of what I'm looking for and why I'm looking for it. And this GX8 I'm really impressed with. It's a silver finished one. I can't show you it because I'm actually using it, and the 17mm lens. It's a rangefinder type camera. So although it's not a rangefinder camera, it has the looks of one. It's got the offset electronic viewfinder on it, and I was a bit unsure of that because I've shot DSLRs for a long time with the center pentaprism sort of shape on the top. But what I did find with this is it's wonderful. I have a Concorde shaped nose, shall we say. It's not the most subtle of appendages, and I found with having the eyepiece right on the side, my nose actually missed the camera altogether, and it was really comfortable to use. The electronic viewfinder is superb because it actually tilts on this, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be something of a gimmick or useful, but I did find it really good. But I didn't want it to put the camera right down at waist level, but I wanted to bring it up more towards eye level but look down slightly into it. Really good for that. The camera, simple controls on it, very much standard Panasonic Lumix. If you're used to using a Panasonic Lumix camera, then you're going to have no problems at all using it. And the interesting thing is I actually found shooting videos on it a little bit easier than on the G9, which totally surprised me, because the G9 is a great little video camera. Although it's the top of the range stills camera in the Lumix range at the moment, the GH5 is the top of the range video camera in the Micro Four Thirds format. I found this little GH8 really, really useful for it. The camera is slightly bigger than its predecessor, the GX7, and its successor, the GX9. So it's actually slightly physically larger than my Olympus OMD EM1 Mark 1, which totally surprised me on it. But because it's got the silver finish, and because it looks more of a rangefinder camera, it doesn't look so intimidating in the hand when you get other people looking on at me. So you don't see that look of horror in the face if you point the camera towards them that you do with a more traditional shaped camera. The feel of it is superb. It's like a brick in your hand. It really is a solid piece of kit, very regular in shape. I'm not missing the front adjustment ring at the moment, because I can adjust it if I want to, but it's more difficult. But I tend to shoot an awful lot in aperture priority, and in which case the thumb wheel at the back is ideal, and of course the exposure compensation is a little bit further over. So let's see some of the first photographs I've done with it. Now, these photographs aren't meant to be fantastic artistic shots. What I've done is I've tried to get these photographs so that we can get an idea as to the performance of the camera and the performance of the lens. So some of them are quite messy, and we'll start with the first one. I've got my iPad here. I'm going to be flicking through this, and hopefully you'll be able to see the photographs as they come up on the screen here. But the first one is a simple look up the road. The beauty of this is it's got shadow, it's got highlights on the trees from the sun on the right. It's using converging parallels, something I love on there, but there's an awful lot of detail in the corners and sides with the tree trunks. The beauty of this time of year is we don't have trees covered with leaves, so there's an awful lot of very intricate detail. Now, as a wide-angle lens, I'm not expecting to get super sharp detail all the way through, but I do expect a certain level of sharpness, and I can't say I'm disappointed at all. This really has been good for me, this lens, because the quality of the detail really is pin sharp. The colour rendition, all my photographs on this have gone through Lightroom. They have been adjusted slightly, but basically they've probably had at the most 20 seconds each, and it's basically just to get a common colour balance. So looking at this, the contrast is superb. One of the problems that you do get, although the Micro Four Thirds is a standard, the differences between the way that the cameras handle the signal is very different between Olympus and Lumix. And so some of the colour correction, the way that the colour set is seen, is different between the two. And you can get some problems because the lenses do tend to fit into that colour set, and they can get a bit of a difference on some of the lenses if you use an Olympus lens on a Lumix or vice versa. So in this case we are using an Olympus lens on the Lumix, but I actually think this is superb. I think the contrast is excellent on it. I think the colour rendition is really, really good. These were all shot just on a normal rather than one of the fancy scenes, so it's a normal scene. And again, as I say, it's just very, very good. There's not much in the way of vignetting in the corners. I can't see any chromatic aberration on any of the photographs I took, which is marvellous, because usually that's counted in camera for the actual lens. So Olympus lenses on Lumix cameras don't tend to get the chromatic aberration dealt with in the same way as they would on an Olympus camera. So this I'm very, very impressed with. As I say, from the centre out to the outside, it's very, very sharp, very even. The lighting is even, and I'm really impressed. Now I decided I was going to go down to Bassenthwaite, which Bassenthwaite is the only true lake in the Lake District of England. The rest are meres, waters or tarns. So Bassenthwaite Lake is the only lake down there. And on the way down there we see this. Now this is taken through the window of the van. So I literally stopped at the side of the road, and what I was trying to do on this was to try and get something with the brickwork, the stonework. There's amazing contrast in the stonework, and there's amazing detail in that, and also in the privet hedge as it comes along the wall in front. These are quite often difficult to get out, and they become rather smudgy. Now the problem you're going to have on here is you're looking on YouTube. You're never going to see the detail on YouTube, so you've got to take my word for it to a degree. But what I did like about this is the rendition of the stonework and the contrast between the light and dark patches on it, and the fact that again We've got some wonderfully straight lines. We're not getting distortion, even though it's a wide angle lens. We're not getting any distortions on this, which I wouldn't really expect from this distance across the road. But the whole perspective of the photograph is right, it fits in. The contrast once again is superb, and the rendition of the greens I find very, very nice as well. I find the whole photograph really good, and most of it I'm putting down to the lens. We went into the village of Bassenthwaite, and there's a couple of shots here of the bridge. There's a lovely little bridge down there, and just a narrow bit of river as it goes past the Sun Inn in the background. If you get the chance to go to Bassenthwaite, by the way, go to the Sun Inn. I haven't been for a year or two since lockdown started, but the last time I was in there I was really impressed. A friendly little pub, and I was made very, very welcome. So if you get the Bassenthwaite village on the north side of the lake, pop into the Sun Inn. Popping at the river again, we're using this traditional stone, the stonework, and the detail in the stonework. I love the texture, I love the way that renders the texture. The water, it's captured the water nicely, and the green of the grass, it has pulled the colours out correctly. Not too bright, not too harsh, because in reality it's not. And again, the focus and the sharpness across the board is great. On the next one, we're actually down. I climbed into the river. The river's only about 6 or 8 inches deep, and I managed to get onto a couple of stepping stones. I was actually about 2 foot into the river on this one. And on this, you'll see the bridge. There's a great deal of shadow, but the details are coming through in that shadow. What I've done is a little bit on Lightroom. I don't take the photographs into Photoshop. I literally do everything just on the standard controls in Lightroom on this. And I've pulled the shadows out slightly, and you can see there's detail under the bridge, which is really good. There's wonderful detail on the ripples on the water, and we've got some highlights on the water as well, which sometimes are difficult to control. And I found that this was straight out of the camera, very, very simple. The camera itself didn't take any setting up either. I just found the camera to be straightforward, easy in the hand. It's an ideal camera in actual fact, because it's almost point and shoot. Although you've got the full range of control, it just felt easy, and I'm really, really impressed with it. It's probably going to be my standard go-to camera to take anywhere, even though it's a 5-year-old design. Moving on from that photograph, we can see looking up the river. Now, first of all, here's a shot of the river itself, and this was taken, I don't have the details on here, I don't have the EXIF data to hand, but this was around about 1/25th to 2/50th of a second. And we can see a lot of detail in the water there. Again, the contrast is superb. There's a lot of detail in the tree branches in the top, and again, the rendition of the greens on the grass is superb. But what I wanted to do was to try and see how good the IBIS in this is. Now, the camera lens, being Olympus, even if it had in-body stabilisation, it's not going to work in sync with the camera's IBIS. But as it happens, the 17mm doesn't have any stabilisation. So the only thing we had is the IBIS in the camera, and it's been criticised in some of the reviews I've heard already about it. But overall, I thought it was pretty good, and I decided I was going to try and put it to the test. So again, I was stood on a rock, not particularly stable myself. It's not the ideal shooting environment, but I looked up the river, and I had it round about a quarter of a second. Now, a quarter of a second handheld when you're in an unstable position is difficult to shoot. Now, I'm not saying it's ideal. You'll find that there is a certain amount of camera shake if you look at the wall on the right hand side, but again, looking on YouTube, you're not going to notice it. But I've got a lovely creaminess in the ripples of the water as it come down. And in fairness, unless you're going to pixel peep, which I really dislike pixel peeping, I don't look at photographs from 3 inches away to see what the incredible detail is. When I look at a photograph either on screen or in a print, I tend to look at it at a reasonable level. And for this, the stone wall is ideal, but it's not what draws your eye. What's drawing your eye are the highlights on the water as they ripple down over the rocks. And that I've got a lovely creaminess on. So I think this is one. I think that the in-body stabilisation has been just right on this. It's not perfect, but I think part of that was also the fact that I was so unstable on my feet at the time. But I think I've got a really usable shot, and it's done what I wanted it to do. So top marks to the Lumix on the image stabilisation. Moving on through, we go to the wooden bridge. The wooden bridge, as I've said before, I love converging parallels. But why I took this particular shot again as a test. These photographs are tests for the Lumix in the lens, and all the photographs were shot on the Lumix with the 17mm lens. And this is actually quite a difficult shot to get right because of the fact that you've got great depth of field between the near and far. You've got converging parallels, which are straight lines, not curved parallels, and it's very easy if a lens isn't spot on to bring a lot of distortion into that. These are true. These are running perfectly straight and true. The detail from front to back is superb, so we've got a really good depth of field. Again, the colour from the grass, but also the highlights in the daffodils at the back and also at the sides is great. And again, the contrast between the dark and light patches is spot on. I can't knock it. I'm really impressed. Normal sort of shot, what I class as my fun shots. This is just a table. It was a table outside, and there was another little bench beside it. These are great. These are the sort of things that you take on a holiday shoot, and they're the sort of things that you want the memories from. They're great, create a little smile on the face. But if it's not quite right, then the detail on the writing is spot on. The whole, again, the contrast and the difference between the shadows and the highlights are superb. Underneath the table, which is usually difficult because that's where the shadows are, you're able to render the detail out of it, but there's minimal adjustment on Lightroom. And again, looking at this, again, a quaint little shot, very artistic with the flower bed, the stone flower bed, which is obviously well weathered, but on top of that, steelwork frame, which is just fabulous. These, again, as I say, these are the sort of shots which are just fun and enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoy them. Going onto the wheel, this is a wheel used to, a grind wheel used to grind tools and knives and whatever. And again, there's a huge amount of patina on the wheel from mildew and moss which has grown up, and also the texture of the surface of the stone. Now, one of the beautiful things on this is the way that the doors are. They're natural wood. Quite often you find that these sort of rustic doors are all fancy finished in varnishes and lacquers, but these are fairly natural, and that's brought out in this. The whole texture of the brickwork and the doors and the stone, along with the rusty frame that it's on, really work well. Now, on all these photographs, I do tend to put a little bit of clarity on, between 16 and 20 on the clarity normally, just to give it a little bit of a boost, because they can appear slightly soft, because real life is quite soft on that. But what I'd find with putting a bit of clarity on is it just brings some of that texture out a little bit better. And this is a real example, because we can see the texture in the stone and the cement between the bricks and the stone, and the way that wheel really, the colour difference with that moss and the mildew on the stone has really came out well. Now, with it being a wide angle lens, we can induce distortion, and it takes a little bit of effort to induce it, but this, I think, is a fantastic shot, again with the grind wheel. But looking along the length of it, you can see it's pretty pin sharp all the way from the beginning of the frame all the way to the doors, and this is really testament to the lens. Yes, there is a distortion, but it's an even distortion across the board. You don't get, again, the curvatures on the lines. So we have a real depth of field perspective on this, disappearing off to the door at the back. But I think this is a superb little shot. It shows that the lens is well in control, and I've got the control of that lens. As we move on through, we come to another shot. Now, this again is quite a difficult shot for a wide angle lens for me, because it's something else I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing abstract shots. Now, to get into this was a wood bunker which is used for storing wood, chopped wood for firewood. But it was quite a close-in shot, and I wanted to get as much detail as I could of this. But again, when you've got a wide-angle lens, there's a lot to get in. There's a lot of detail to get in. And when you're doing an abstract with a wide-angle lens, you're just about on top of it. I was very, very close to this woodshed here, and the worry I had was it was actually going to start looking somewhat odd. The distortion would come in quite strong, but it hasn't. It's kept its form. It really is bringing out the detail in the wood, but also the way that the colour balance between the different tones of the brown and the wood, they've come out beautifully. And I put this down to the lens as much as anything else. It really has got a very, very balanced output on it, and the beauty is it's tiny. It really is a small little lens. I mean, I'm filming on it now. It really is a useful little lens to film on. Moving on, I've come to this one, which is the footpath sign. And I love shots like this. I love telling stories. This to me tells something of a little story about the journey. It's a great one to put on the beginning of a storyboard if you're going to do something. And again with this one, I wanted to bring out some of the drama of it. The clouds were just fabulous. I did find that they came out very blue. I had to do a little bit of colour correction on the clouds just to get them more grey. But the texture of the wood, the colour of the wood, the way that it goes with the texture of the wall, and again the green behind, they're all naturally balanced. I haven't really done anything on this apart from just change the exposure slightly. I don't think I even touched the contrast. Brought the highlights down somewhat so they weren't flooding out. Brought the shadows up slightly just to get some of the detail back, but most of this is straight out the camera. And again, the balance of colours between the greys and browns of the wall and the grass behind, but also the detail in the equipment just beside the barn at the back. And again, going into the background with the hills in the background, we've managed to capture them. They're well out of focus, that's fine, but they add to the drama of the shot. And this really is one of my favourite shots that I've taken on the camera up to now. The other thing I did was I went around my hometown of Brampton, and it's just out on a walk, just took the dog out for a walk, and I took the camera with me, and we've got the bee-friendly garden. And why I wanted this is because there's a nice splash of colour on this amongst the green that we've already seen, and trying to bring colours out without them being too overbearing is usually quite difficult. And again, I think the Lumix and the Olympus 17mm lens have done a fabulous job on this. I used it as well with this picture of the car, and what I did on the car, this is a little bit of playing around. I've really boosted up the clarity and really boosted up the texture on this to get that shine on the car to stand out. And then I desaturated all the colours from the background. Just a bit of a fun shot, but it really is quite dramatic when it came out. And again, you know, pin sharp from this lens, it really was very, very easy to use. And every time I've said this up to now, it's made me smile inside, because quite often you say that something's easy to use, but you think of the flaws as you were doing it. I can't think of the flaws on this. It really has been good. So overall, what do I think? Well, from a value for money point of view, this camera body was less than £400. The lens, I think, was just over £200 used. So from that, a camera which cost over £1,000 new, a body which cost over £1,000 new when it came out, and a lens which is getting over £400 retail, I think I've got an absolute bargain. It's immaculate. In the hand, it's really, really comfortable. The only bad point that I found is the display button on the back does naturally fall straight under your thumb when you're holding it. So you look through the display finder, especially when you're using the flip out display, you suddenly find out you're on the quick menu, or you've lost the lines which show the spirit level, which I use a lot. And it's because you've accidentally caught the display button. I'll get used to that, but it is a bit of a pain. I do find the reach across for the exposure compensation something of a difficulty as well, because it doesn't fall in a natural place. It looks fabulous, it looks very retro, but it's not what I consider to be a really well placed control. The build quality of both the camera and the lens are spot on. They are solid, they are strong, they give me so much confidence in it. Bad part on the camera as well, I'm shooting video at the moment, but I've had to use a 3.5mm to 2.5mm adapter for the microphone. It comes with a 2.5mm, and it comes with a micro HDMI lead, which is horrible. I'm used to shooting with the G9, where I can plug my mic straight in, I can plug a standard HDMI lead straight in. I haven't got on in camera battery charging, but that's a minor problem as well that comes with the charger. So overall, very, very impressed. It's a great go-to camera. I love the controls. I find it easier to do videos on than I do the G9, which surprised me no end. I find the quality of the still photographs superb. It really is something of a competition for my OMD EM1 Mark I. So would I recommend to buy one? Yeah. 5-year-old camera it might be, but it doesn't feel that. It feels very, very up to date. It feels very, very usable. And this is a camera which I'm convinced was going to carry on for many years in my collection. I can't see me want to get rid of it. It feels good in the hand. It doesn't feel oppressive. And as I say, with a 17mm lens on or something of this ilk, it really is a usable stick in the pocket camera and use. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Before you go, I'm going to have a little word about subscriptions if I can. If you would like to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button. But I was asked the other day, How much does it cost to subscribe to your channel? It doesn't cost a penny. YouTube subscriptions don't cost you anything. What YouTube subscriptions do is they enable you to get put into your favourites whenever a video comes out from one of your subscriptions. So you'll see it, it'll highlight it for you. Which means that basically if I release a new video, it'll go onto your preferred list. The other thing I'd like you to do, if you would, just hit the bell below, because what the bell does is the bell actually will send you an email or a text notification to say that I've uploaded a new video for you to see. It'll give you the notify on that. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. And the final one, and probably the most important one for me, give me a thumbs up below to like it. What that does is it tells YouTube that people are interested in it. It changes the algorithms that YouTube use to spread the videos, and it'll put my video on to more people with a photography interest so that they can enjoy it. So if you do the like, that really does me a lot of favours in promoting the video. As I say, I don't earn any money from this. I'm not monetized on it. I do this for the love of it, and I do it for the fact that I'm passionate about photographs, I'm passionate about photography, and I'm passionate about my cameras. Now I'm up to about 145 subscribers, which in the big picture, when you get some people who've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, isn't a great deal. But I'll tell you what, each one of you subscribed, I really do appreciate, I really do thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be having a video channel at all. So thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you the next time. This is Brian James, that Micro Four Thirds guy, signing out. Look forward to seeing you soon. And I've also got the Weatherall video coming up soon. Look out for that one. Cheers.